Chicago, the third largest metropolis in the USA, is a magnificent city with skyscrapers lining the horizon, with buildings of unique style. In the works of Mark Twain, Chicago seemed to have the power from the magic lamp and always created miracles. This is Chicago, the Windy City. In the spring of 2012, a group of guests from afar came for a visit. From February 19th to 20th, 2012, after the visit with Vice President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China, Mr. Li Hongzhong, Secretary of CPC Hubei Provincial Committee and Chairman of the Hubei Provincial People's Congress, led a delegation for a friendly visit to Chicago. Accompanied by Mr. Yang Guoqiang, China's Consul General in Chicago, the delegation held talks with Governor Pat Quinn, Mayor Rahm Emanuel, and Mr. Richard Daley, former mayor of Chicago. Although it was the first time for them to meet each other, they didn't feel unfamiliar with each other. With sincere handshakes, face-to-face communication on topics of common concern, they were like old friends. Actually, early in the last century, Chicago and Wuhan, though thousands of miles apart, were once connected due to the work of a great man. 94 years ago, Dr. Sun Yat-sen, pioneer of the Chinese 1911 Revolution, envisioned in his book that Wuhan could be as big as New York or London and could become the Oriental Chicago. At that time, Chicago was the busiest inland port in the Midwest of the USA. One could reach the Atlantic Ocean from Chicago via Lake Michigan and the Chicago Canal. Connecting China's inland and the open seas, the Great Hankou, the major part of Wuhan at the time, was competitive Tianjin and Shanghai port at the same time. It was the only metropolis that shared the glory and prosperity with the Great Shanghai. And there was comparative research of Wuhan and Chicago in the international media. In 1918, an article named China's Chicago was published on an American journal, The Harpist, claiming that Hankou's position in China's commodity market was as important as that of Chicago in the United States. Chicago and Wuhan have amazing similarity in geographic location. Someone once conducted an experiment to cover a map of the United States with a map of China and found that the location of Shanghai corresponded to New York while Wuhan to Chicago. Similar geographic location endowed these two big cities with similar functions, value, and significance. Chicago, a hub of water, land, air, and railway transportation linking the eastern and western regions of the United States, enjoys the busiest airport terminal and the biggest railway hub in the United States. Compared with Chicago, Wuhan is a super large city in central China and serves as the Chinese crossroad. Since ancient times, Wuhan has been known as the thoroughfare to 9 provinces. Today, 5 railway arteries and 6 state roads join in Wuhan and make it the largest transportation hub of railway, waterway, highway, and air travel in central China. Wuhan was defined by the Ministry of Transportation as the intersection of China. Known as the city with 100 lakes, beautiful lake views are a symbol of Wuhan and the most representative scenery of Hubei province. Chicago is also a city known for her lakes. Next to Chicago lie the Great Lakes, the world's largest freshwater lake area. 57 world-class universities are the source of wisdom for Chicago. 50 Nobel Prize winners graduated from the University of Chicago. Wuhan, with 86 institutions of higher learning, such as Wuhan University and Huizhong University of Science and Technology, has more than 1 million students and over 50 academians of Chinese Academy of Science and Chinese Academy of Engineering. The East Lake High-Tech Developing Zone is the second national innovation demonstration zone of China. Chicago is one of the major U.S. industrial bases. It was the largest iron and steel processing base in America and is known to the world as the capital city of candies. Wuhan, on the other hand, is an important industrial base in China. Made in Hanyang once symbolized the beginning of China's modern industrialization. Since the founding of New China, a large group of industries settled down in Wuhan, including Wuhan Iron and Steel Company, Wuhan Heavy Duty Machine Factory, and Wuhan Shipbuilding Company. Chicago is the birthplace of global futures trading, and the product prices of the world would refer to the prices issued in Chicago. Wuhan, with over 2,000 financial and securities institutions, is becoming the financial center of central China.
武汉在很多方面与芝加哥相类似，同样有着悠久的区位、丰富的水资源、科教资源，以及这个商业底蕴。
Today, Chicago is not only a transportation hub, but also an important center of finance and trade of the U.S. Many world-renowned companies such as Boeing, McDonald's, Motorola, and Wrigley all set up their headquarters in Chicago. However, in the 1960s, as a base of traditional manufacturing industry, Chicago once faced difficulties, with 25% of its factories shut down and a 50% drop of employment. Facing the crisis, Chicago made the best of its advantages in transportation, science, and education, promoting the transformation of industry. On one hand, it strived to develop the modern service industry, and on the other hand, it upgraded the traditional manufacturing industry. In this way, the depressed economy obtained vitality again. Chicago's successful transformation and revitalization in economy become a backbone support for the prosperity for the United States, which also encourages Wuhan to realize its dream of revitalization. Today's Wuhan has become the capital city in central China. In 2011, Wuhan's GDP reached 650 billion yuan, and its GDP per capita is 10,000 USD. Wuhan's 4 major industries, including automobile, iron and steel production, telecommunications and equipment manufacturing, have an annual output of over 100 billion RMB yuan. The 1+8 metropolitan area takes up 2/3 of Hubei's economic volume. To fully demonstrate Wuhan's role in the rise of central China, the CPC Hubei Provincial Committee and the provincial government created a definition for Wuhan's future to be a leading city, a supporting stand city, and a great city both in China and the world. Afterwards, an agreement was achieved in the 12th Party Congress of Wuhan. Wuhan will steam ahead with boldness, strive for excellence, and make all efforts to become a national central city. At the new starting point, Wuhan has a great ambition to revitalize its past reputation, on the path to building itself into a national central city. Wuhan is eager to learn from the experiences of Chicago.
芝加哥和武汉有很多的相似之处，它历史上也是实现了这个从传统的工业基地向现代制造业的转型。
也要学习芝加哥产业结构升级的一些经验，比如说，他们大力 发展现代服务业，发展总部经济。
Fen Song is the vice president of Wangjiadun CBD Construction Company. In 2005, China Ocean-wide Holdings Group, where Feng worked, more than 100 billion RMB yuan was invested in the CBD project, covering an area of 7.41 square kilometers in Wuhan. It learned this model from Chicago. Later, SOM, the top architecture designing company in Chicago, was invited to take part in the design of Wuhan CBD.
The city, I think, has to work on a transportation plan to bring all of its districts together so that you don't necessarily have to own a car to move around this important city.
对这个芝加哥在CBD 交通问题上面给我们提的这样一个经验，我们把它马上借鉴过来。
Today, Wangjiadun CBD has become a model of modern service industry in Wuhan. In the future, 1,800 world-famous companies will set up their headquarters there, and correspondingly, more than 200,000 people will work and live there. Wangjiadun will become a regional center in central China. To catch up with Chicago, Wuhan, the Oriental Chicago, is moving forward and making steady progress. Focusing on the policy of building a central city, in 2012, Wuhan has planned that the city will be built into a national innovation center, an advanced manufacturing center, a national business and logistics center, and it will be a happy and environmentally friendly Wuhan. Chicago selflessly shares its experience with Hubei and Wuhan, which always holds a modest attitude for learning.
The suggestions always be government leads by example. And when government does something and people see it, the impact that you can have on the environment in small ways, planting a tree, making sure you're recycling.
This valuable photo was taken in 2006 when students from the Hubei government were presenting gifts to Mayor Daley after a visit to the City Hall. The students were young and middle-aged public servants on an exchange program in Chicago. Today, China has become the second largest economy in the world, only after the United States. With the deepening of Sino-US relations, Wuhan and Chicago, both located in the central areas of their own countries, are joining hands for extensive cooperation. During the visit, the two sides reached a consensus to develop a close and friendly cooperation in broader fields and on higher levels for the future. This is a metaphorical handshake made across the ocean and is a commitment that looks to be held into the future. In the spring of 2012, with this commitment made between the two cities, Wuhan, the Oriental Chicago, and the city of Chicago will open a more splendid chapter in the book of friendship between China and the United States.